Hello and welcome back to this video series where we're looking at building our own custom application using Up's API. In this video, we're going to talk about webhooks. Now, webhooks are a super awesome feature of Up's API and basically gives us the ability to, rather than us making a request to Up's API and asking if something's changed and then asking if something's changed and then asking if something's changed, we can give Up's API a URL to call us back. So essentially, this is how you can contact us and just let us know when something happened. So before we get into webhooks, it's really important to have a good foundational understanding of how the request-response model has been working up until now. So we have our application, or in our case, Postman, which makes a request for all the transactions. So it sends a request to the API. The API then goes to the database and says, "Can I please have?" And the database says, "Certainly, good sir, here are your transactions." And then the API will send those back to the application, and the application can display them however we want. So how does this look with webhooks? So in the webhooks model, we still have our application, and our application makes a request to the API, but rather than asking for a particular resource, we are just telling the API we would like to subscribe to any events that happen. So if anything happens that we would care about, just let us know. The API says, "I can do that. I got your back." Then this other lovely user decides to transfer us some money. So they transfer some money into our database. Our database then says to the API, "Hey, something happened, and here's what happened." The API then goes, "I know exactly who needs to know about that," and passes it on to our application. Now, this is a really good mental model for how webhooks works, and a nice simple model. In reality, we can't actually do this last step because we can't have a WebSocket connection to the API. So the API isn't actually able to push data to our application. It's only allowed to respond to requests that we send. So we ask for something and it gives us a response. So if we need that WebSocket connection so that our application can know to update because something has changed, we need to just add an extra layer. So this is our own API layer or mailbox in between our application and the API. So we make a request to our API and we say, "Hey, I want to connect." It says, "Sure thing," and goes off to the API and says, "I want to subscribe to any events that happen for this application. And here's my URL," because this is just another API that exists on the internet. So it can say, "Here's how you contact me when something happens, and I'll worry about telling anyone who needs to know." The API says that is totally fine with us. And then our API tells the application, "It's all good, I got your back." So then our wonderful friend transfers us some flying money, flies up some money into our Up account. And then the database tells the API, "Hey, something happened, and here's what happened." It then tells our API, because it knows how to contact it, so this is sort of like the reverse of an API request. So we're telling Up's API to call our API when something happens. So Up's API calls our API and tells us what happened, and then our API can pass that message on to our application. So the API documentation goes through some really good examples for how to use webhooks, how to create them, read or retrieve existing ones, and how to delete them. One thing I found really helpful when I was playing with this was this ping endpoint. So this is a way that you can simulate an event which should trigger your webhook, which should then make a call to your API, which should then notify the front end that something has changed. So it's a really good way to test end to end that things are working correctly. Very helpful debugging tool. The other thing I'd recommend is having a read of this handling webhook events section. So this will talk about the different types of events that will trigger the webhook to contact your API, as well as how to secure your webhook event handler. So it talks about using a signing secret or a secret key to make sure that the thing making the request to your API is actually Up's API. So there's a little bit on security there as well. We probably won't go through this in the example that we'll build over the next couple of videos. So it's really important that you have a read through this and make sure that you're securing your applications correctly. There are some examples in different languages, which is very helpful. Cool. So in the next video, we are going to finally start building our application. So we're going to look at building that API layer, so our API, that's going to sit between our client application, so our React front end, and Up's API. So we're going to be building that in Node and really pulling together all these different things that we've been talking about up until this point. It's going to be an exciting episode, so I'll see you there.